Yeah, both teams still have the means to fit it quite nicely into their lineups here. So see if that's something that either team. It's been kind of dropping off popularity a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not as contested as like Mice or Chaos Knight, but definitely still up there. Just like Pango and Dusa, also still in the pool.
Cybercats, do you? No, I was gonna say, do you pull the trigger on something like a Dusa pick here in phase 2? Instead, they will keep it about as simple as you can possibly get. They pick up the Bane, but this is looking pretty strong. Mars, Snap, and Bane gives them a lot of lockdown and some sort of teamfight combos to work with as well.
Sorry? Uh, if that was a question, then my connection dropped
Uh,
for a moment.
well, not a question. Just pointing out the Bane pick. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. Otherwise, I'll do it. But on the Rune Eater's side of things, they do grab the Skywrath Mage for themselves. So while Cybercats do have sort of extra lockdown working from their support duo, Rune Eaters have a nice bit of damage to work with the opposing side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, always such a scary combination. Sand King plus Sky. It's lethal in any stage of the game, really. And Rune Eaters, they go for the Wraith King. Wraith King is a very nice hero against heroes like Bane because he doesn't really care much about getting stunned by Fiend's Grip because he has another life to work with in Cybercats. They pick up the Anti-Mage, and that is a risky pick.
And you always have the theoretical sort of work it can do against the Wraith King, but the Wraith King is a shard away from kind of eliminating that threat, and then you have an AM who's going to need a lot of build-up time no matter what.
Oh, and there we see the puck
Yep.
ban, finally. Even though I think it would have been less good now that there is an Anti-Mage.
Well, at this point, better safe than sorry. They've been a puck away. Rune Eaters, meanwhile, with the removal of the Necrophos, that is always sort of a bit of an interesting hero. Just it feels kind of niche, but it is getting picked up a little bit more often over the last like month and a half.
Mm-hmm. Very strange bans. I wonder if they're gonna pick some melee hero for the mid lane. Probably. I guess they're gonna go for something like, I don't know, Ember or DK. Or they could even put the Sand King mid if they want to get an offlaner that's better against AM, like Slido or something.
Yeah, and Cybercats sort
They have a
of
lot of freedom.
split the bands there on the back end too with the puck and then the Beastmaster, so they're not even sure. That's what the plan is
Mm-hmm.
for this Sand King, which in Rune Eater's sort of defense, credit to them, that was kind of the point of it, right? Maintaining that flexibility, and now they get to choose what they want to do with it. The problem is that you don't have last pick here, so whatever you do choose with this Sand King's positioning, Cybercats will have sort of last say in terms of trying to outmaneuver.
Okay.
Yeah. Still not 100%
They go
sure.
for the Lycan.
Saw in the last game, DK Fogus. Well, it wasn't that he was not good with the hero. He still had a lot of utility, a lot of auras, like you were pointing out. It's just he wasn't really someone that could massively alter the trajectory of some of those fights. And I will say some of that was due to the Bloodseeker on the opposing side, but it just felt like the hero didn't quite do what they wanted it to. But Rune Eaters presumably have maybe a slightly altered plan for it in their own lineup.
That's a political way of saying that DK Focus had no impact last game.
Hmm.
Yeah. Let's see if Cloud, I guess, is gonna be playing it, if he's gonna have more impact. Um, it does look like a game where there are some good tools to deal with a Lycan. Because Arena is quite good, because you don't tend to buy BKB, and even if you do, your creeps don't get it. Of course, if he goes for the same kind of playstyle with the auras and a Wraith Pact instead of the Overlord Helm, it doesn't matter as much, of course. I'm not sure if he can get away with doing that, because I feel like his team could be lacking a bit of damage then. And Cybercats, they finish it off with an Ember Spirit. Looks like a pretty decent Ember game. You just have the Sky and the Sand King to worry about, really. And Rune does has a lot of like squishy low armor heroes. And with a lot I mean 2, but still counts.
Yeah, not a crazy amount to keep the Ember Spirit, or I guess even really the Anti-Mage, locked down for very long. So Cybercats do have that sort of working for them. The opposite side of that coin, though, is that Rune Eaters have a pretty substantial amount of damage that they're going to be able to throw out against you.
Yeah, Anti-Mage is always such an interesting hero to look at, like the principles of drafting. Because individually, Anti-Mage is good against all of these heroes except for Lycan. Just on a matchup basis, where if you pick AM into Skyrat Mage, you're probably gonna be pretty happy. But if you look at the timings of the draft as a whole, it's quite a different story. Because Anti-Mage can, for instance, be very weak against Medusa, because Medusa peaks slightly earlier, and if you have a lineup that's built around that, and Medusa can get in front of a tower with some good support, Anti-Mage can do nothing. And I feel like there is a risk of something like that happening in this game too, where it looks really good for Anti-Mage, but no matter which lineup Anti-Mage is in and which heroes he's playing against, he's always gonna need his 3 items to fight. So his Battle Fury, his Manta, and probably his Skadi. And if you cannot get to that point, it doesn't matter which heroes you play against, you're just not gonna have a good time.
Yeah, and on the other side of things, you have TA2000, who can maybe start contributing to those fights with, 1 to 2 of his items, depending on his own build. So timing-wise, things could get a little bit awkward there for Cybercats. But we'll see how this goes. Game 2 of a best of 3 getting started, as they're just going to run right into each other. DK Focus is going to get stunned up at the start. Hayes thought about it, but if you go for that, that's a Burrow Strike halfway up a ramp, and he assumed correctly that the rest of Cybercats were just kind of waiting on that high ground. Not a whole lot lost there on either side.
See if we get another fight next to like the top river bounty. Could very well happen. Both teams are posturing.
Takes up position there in pit, sends the wolves forward from Cloud, so oh, someone's here. Could they actually just try and push them off? Yes, they can. Okay. Might be able to snag themselves an extra bounty rune, although as I say that, Igor was able to get in there to steal one, so doesn't look like it's going to be much of a trade-off. And now TA2000 is actually taking a fair bit of damage there early, and he has gone for this sort of build. I guess it really is sort of sticking around the early stick, but that means he has no other regen in this lane, and he lost about half of his health going for that rune.
I mean, getting regen is what supports are for.
Fair
Gone
enough.
are the days of having to buy your own regen.
Kiori is coming with a couple stacks of tangos, so be able to help out just as soon as he arrives, but this duo for Rune Eaters are going to have to be careful. I mean, this is kind of the combo in terms of aggression. Maybe the Mars Mirana is kind of up there in terms of similar impact, but feels like a situation where Fezor and DK Focus, if they want to, are really always going to have opportunities to try and harass. Kiori is exactly the tankiest of heroes, and if he tries for any sort of decrep play, well, they've got spells to sort of smack him with as well, so for TA2000, he's probably still going to be able to farm, but Kiori may not have a lot of fun in this lane across the first few minutes.
Speaking about not having a lot of fun, Ember Spirit's doing surprisingly well against the Sand King. Like, you would usually see that as quite a difficult matchup, because you're a melee hero against the Sand King, but he's been doing really well for the first few waves, and the first few waves are quite important. Getting that level 2 or level 3 instead of getting it denied helps so much.
See what Hayes attempts to do here to maybe shake it up. He just now got a point in the Sandstorm, so obviously that might help him try to control the wave, maybe deal with this Flame Guard a little bit better as well, but as you said, so far the Ember Spirit's been doing a pretty good job, and just kind of hoping for more of the same moving forward. As back down bot, DK Focus got in a little bit of trouble there. They tried to push in, but well, the Mars is pretty tanky here. One bracer finished off, another one being worked on, so not an easy kill by any means. It does push him back a little bit, but Cybercats are going to be just fine sort of dealing with some of that aggression for now.
Cybercats is gonna be quite happy about the way that this laning stage has been going so far, because their Ember is doing better than expected, and their win condition in the anti-mage is topping their CS charts by quite a bit too.
And yeah, I mean, in this lane, Arrow's obviously capable of doing some annoying damage on the Skywrath mage, but this doesn't really feel like a scenario where Cloud's going to want to really try and push in and do anything, and before he has Shapeshift, I'm not even really sure that he can.
Yeah, no, he definitely cannot. The one thing you can try to do is stop AM from farming, but you have 0 kill potential. Once he gets his Ring of Health, well, he's just gonna get free farm, and there is nothing you can do.
Exactly the kind of game plan that Cybercats were hoping for. Pick up that AM. Of course, the counter to this is that Cloud is going to farm up pretty well himself, as... Actually, it's a little bit awkward. H2O. Pushing in there. 2 points on the Brain Sap, though, so he's able to walk off a lot of that damage, but... yeah, the Lycan's going to do sort of things like this, just try and get in, steal some farm, and... obviously, Shigetsu is outpacing him, but... if you're the Lycan and you're not going to be able to fight, then you might as well just get as many last hits as you can, and I don't know how much H2O can do to stop that. Very farm focused through the first couple of minutes here. We've seen both teams sort of poking and prodding, though, so it's not that there hasn't been any sort of attempts at early fighting, it's just none of them have really gone through, but at this point, so long as everyone's farming, you're going to be okay, and as you mentioned earlier on, if you're Cybercats, I mean, Igor continues to get quite a bit out of this middle lane. Nearly 30 last hits on the board already.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Igor had a nice play with denying the enemy sentry ward too. So it's just very hard for SK to stay here, because he doesn't have the greatest armor or HP right now, and Ember is just gonna keep spamming his Sleight of Fist with his Blightstone. Gets another sentry denied. Yeah, Sand King is just gonna have to push out waves and then jungle. Which, to be fair, is the plan to begin with.
See him sort of stacking up that side camp for himself as well, so he kind of knew, as you said, that it might come down to this, but I don't know. There's maybe a part of Hayes sort of holding out hope that his sentry game would allow him to sort of avoid that, but if you can't, you have a fallback plan. It should work quite nicely for him, but you're gonna have to deal with a very farmed Ember Spirit on the other side, and for now, Hayes... bit of a strange one. Just kept the Sandstorm going until the creep waves met back up. Igor just didn't really care about that. Moved over and out of the lane, and now fight for the rune, perhaps? Well, not much of a fight, actually. Sand King sort of guesses incorrectly. He's going to go for the bounty instead, while Igor will bottle up the illusion.
Let's see. Doesn't look like anything too special is happening in terms of builds. Gonna be seeing a Blink Dagger rushed on the Sand King. Ember has his Orb of Corrosion finished.
To him, meanwhile, the Mars just picked up a Soul Ring, so yeah, not too much. Although I will say for DK Focus, we have seen this from some Marses in the past. 2 bracers, the Soul Ring, and the Phase Boots it does give you maybe a little bit more punch in the early stages of the game, but I have seen some instances where going for that many sort of smaller items slightly slows down your blink, and considering there's a mid Sand King on the other side who's just rushing straight in for it, there is the risk that Rune Eaters are going to hit that timing before the Mars is ready to counter.
Mm-hmm. It's gonna get a nice little stack here, though.
Come over, TA2000's in position, and... well, I don't know about this one. They're going to try for the stun anyway, but Focus is pretty tanky. Not really going to be able to do too much there. I feel like Fezor in this lane is really the only one that they would be able to take down quickly, and they're able to push him away but didn't commit onto him. The good news, though, this is a lot of damage onto this tier 1 tower. They've got the siege creep, but now double stuns onto TA2K. They're going to push him back with that rebuke as well. But DK Focus isn't 6. Without the arena, they can't keep him in position, and looks like your Wraith King's going to be able to walk away. Not a bad attempt there for Cybercats, just not quite enough damage. Meanwhile, middle lane, speaking of attempts, trying to get in onto H2O, and they will be successful. Haze actually even stole the haste rune. Zegor tried to jump to the Remnant to steal it, but Rune Eaters, well, they get the rune, they get the first blood, and they got their Wraith King out of trouble down bot.
Mm-hmm. And SK is about to finish his Blink Dagger. I wonder if they're gonna try to go for Anti-Mage. Because right now AM is still very killable. And he's walking around with 600 HP currently. Like with a Skyrat Silence, that is definitely killable.
Blink, Burrow, Silence down, and the Epicenter's going as well. Yeah, very much killable, so... see, needs that Blink first, but he's just about there. Some neutral items dropping for him as well, going to be useful. And it's worth noting at this point, Cloud is level 6 as well, so if they were going to try for this play, the Shapeshift is online for it. But see what the Sand King does. He might actually, at this point, just want to go all the way back to base, because his HP is not looking fantastic, so may delay that rotation a little bit. But back down in the bottom lane, they're trying not to DK Focus again. And just like last time, they're missing a little bit of damage. It's a nice spear play there from Focus to make sure that the Wraith King wasn't going to get any further damage in onto him.
Oh, it should be going down here though. Just a constant Nether Blast.
They made the jump top.
Much.
Okay, he didn't even use the epi. Wow. So they spare the ult, they get the tower, they get Shigetsu, and...
that's a big kill, because this opens up the tier 1 as well. If they can get this, it's gonna be so big, because AM is gonna kind of lose control of his own jungle too.
Can they get this? I think if Cloud, yeah. Cloud's gonna pull the creep aggro here, so his next wave is just gonna come in completely uncontested, or maybe not, because Shigetsu TP's back in. Over in the middle lane, though, okay. Igor's going to try and calm things down, gets his team on the board with their first kill, finishing off the Pugna, but they do still need to be careful. That is a nice first kill, but as you said, that top lane is going to be kind of vulnerable. The tier 1 went down to below half HP, and it would not take too much more in the way of numbers for Rune Eaters to try and come in and bully that AM away again.
Mm-hmm. Hayes tried to go for an epi a while ago together with Arrow. But the moment he jumped, Igor just jumped away before the burst strike could come out. So that's gonna be down for another 70 seconds.
Into the jungle, trying to steal a camp away from the Wraith King, and he will do so. And if you're TA2000, I think showing a healthy respect there to maybe not Igor alone, but maybe the potential for a rotation from some of these other heroes. You don't have any backup in the area, so safer for the Wraith King to just sort of pull back at this point. And with Cybercats trying to push this lane and starting to get some vision here in this side of the jungle as well, at what point do you consider maybe just shifting TA2K over into that sort of triangle in the west and just leaving the bottom lane?
I think roughly like 30 seconds ago. Because then he would have been farming nicely right now instead of being pushed out by the enemy mid. Like, his jungle is very unsafe and he knows it. Like, it's all worded up. His team is very far away and the enemy team is very close.
especially considering they are looking to sort of make plays. Excuse me. Make plays in the top lane. Kind of seems like there's even more incentive for the Wraith King to sort of stay in that area as well. As they make the jump top, Shigetsu's in trouble again. Pretty much the same combo. It works both times, and now H2O, he might be in some trouble as well. He could try for the Nightmare, but I think he knows Hayes, yeah, he's just waiting for that exact play. He's got the Blink, he's got the Burrow. Okay. Not quite the right order of operations there, as he doesn't quite have the distance, so H2O gets to live, but they got the more important kill. Shigetsu dead, tower gone. That's what they wanted.
Oh, it's rough for Cybercats. They really can't afford too many anti-mage deaths.
Bond's coming out well, so last time they were having some trouble with the team comms. Might be more of the same here, but hopefully it's not going to be a lingering issue for them. In the meantime, Hayes has arrived in the bottom lane. No Epi for 25, but the Blink Burrow's there, and TA2000 could make his way over. I don't know if the timing's going to work out perfectly for them there, but they at least have the potential. And even if TA2000 doesn't come over, Hayes can at least defend this tower, keep the tier 1 alive, and maintain a little bit extra map control for them if they are still not looking to sort of move the Wraith King.
He does need to be a bit careful on this Sand King, because he's not that tanky yet. I feel like he can definitely die to Arena and Kisses.
Bit of a downside to the sort of naked Blink Dagger rush, right? There's not a lot of durability to work with, and there probably won't be for some time. He's going after the Boots of Travel build, so it's going to give him a lot more presence around the map for sure, but you need to be careful that you're the one always making the initiation, because if he gets jumped in on, kind of gets blown up. Cloud actually going for the same build that we saw from Focus, right? He's got himself the Vlads, but he's going to go into the AC, and then actually he's got BKB queued up after that, so might just be delaying the Wraith Pact kind of indefinitely for right now.
Yeah, very interesting.
But
he's gonna die now.
Yeah, that's a bit of a problem as he gets picked off. His teammates are trying for a push mid. The Glyph, though, is going to sort of force them back a bit, so very nicely done by Cybercats, taking advantage of the Lycan, trying to get a little greedy in the farming pattern, but can they actually hold this tower? The creep wave is slowly getting worked through, and I think they're going to be able to save it for now, but I don't know. Kaori, he starts getting some more levels, more points in Nether Blast. I mean, that tier 1 is going to go down eventually, but if you're Cybercats, you've already lost your tier 1s everywhere else, so this tier 1 takes on even more importance than usual because of that.
Yetsu is about to finish his Battle Fury, and that's a very respectable timing for having died twice. Would be huge.
H2O.
Rune does manages to kill him though. But H2O just tanks the gank. And that's super good for Cybercats.
Raiders, though, trying to get some vision in here. That's 2 obs wards that they've dropped in this sort of east side triangle, so they are trying to make an effort to slow Shigetsu down, and as you said, he's almost done with the Battle Fury, but he's not quite there yet, so they could delay this a little bit further. That'd be great for them, as Fezor is going to get himself jumped in on here. Life Drain will slowly but surely tick him down, and they are straight up denying Shigetsu access to that side of the map, so he just has to rotate elsewhere. So the good news is he will finish the Battle Fury. The bad news is he's lost that east side triangle, and he's lost a teammate or 2 as well.
Would be so sick, actually, if they stayed in the triangle just to deny access to the secret shop. That would have been a next level play.
Yori? He does stick around, but he sticks around really by himself, so DK Focus throws down the arena, and Igor's the one to get the kill there, so this little bump up for an Ember Spirit who's already sitting at the top of the net worth chart. He just finished off his Maelstrom, so I think this Ember realizing with the Anti-Mage in the lineup and needing a slower build-up, he is going to go for a bit more damage in the earlier stages, but smoke play could be brutal if they can get onto him. Stays safe. Heroes are still here, though, so yeah, he might want to stay on that tree line for a little while longer. And the scan now, even being deployed. So they kind of suspected something was up. Now they know their heroes are going to make their way over. And Rune Eaters, I don't know about this one now. You're fighting into, maybe not an arena, but the spear stun and the cookie still kind of there to break it up.
And at the same time, Shigetsu is still farming, getting closer and closer to that Manta. And those all-important 3 items.
They're getting a little close to the Wraith King there, though, so... Yeah, 2000 is going to back away. How's the item build looking for him? Got the armlet. He's looking for the Desolator here. So this is just going to be a very damage-oriented build for the Wraith King. Be interested to see what he goes for after the Deso, though. Whether he looks for something like a BKB or maybe just a Blink Dagger to get into the fight. Speaking of fights, though, Fezor going to get jumped in on in the middle lane. They'll take him down. Hayes was hit by the spear in the arena play, but Kiori just life drains into his buddy, and there's really not a whole lot they can do to follow that one up. So lose the Snapfire, and now Rune Eaters are sort of patrolling through the north side jungle, and yeah, there we go. They were spotted out the whole way through, but they will take the Obs Ward down. So the south side, excuse me, the north side, not particularly safe for Cybercats, but down south they are looking at a potential play here. I don't know. Fiend's Grip and Mana Void can certainly get you through 1 life. Will he scale it up? Oh, he's not going to get a chance.
Because he has no mana.
Okay. Can't pop the Soul Ring if you're stuck in the Fiend's Grip, so... Nicely done. Shigetsu, I believe that is his first kill. Yeah. We're able to get that. It does come at a cost, though. DK Focus was caught on the other side of the map at the same time, but if you're Cybercats, you needed that kill. You take down the Wraith King, you slow up his farming rate, you get Shigetsu a kill, and now... Ooh, Hayes misses. But he has no mana. He's going to look for the TP out.
Oh, gets it. No crits.
That is some fantastic luck from Igor. Yeah, no crits. Hayes misses on the burrow. If either of that happens, then he is just straight up dead, but... Okay. Not gonna sort of deny good fortune there, as Igor got away, heals up, right back into the top lane, and none the worse for wear. However, you see a little bit of an emphasis on the Roche Pit now, although Rune Eaters are going to look for the fight first. H2O... Not really sure if we'd call that help from Fezor. Yes, the cookie is there, but it really only pushes H2O further into the gank. So, Rune Eaters find the first kill. They're going to look for another. They're in onto Fezor now. They're going to blow up that Snapfire quickly as Hayes gets the double. And at this point, Roshan is going to be wide open for them.
Now they move in with AC and Vlads. This road should be dropping fairly quickly.
They are making some solid time.
Just gonna let it go.
Yeah, I think really, at this point, they would need everyone to sort of make the play over, and it would still be risky to force their way into it, so... They give up Roche. Hayes is the one who grabs himself the Aegis here, so the Sand King... Well... starting to look more and more impressive here. 5-0 and 4s. They are going to get the jump in onto the middle lane. They drop the arena down. There's going to be the kisses coming through. The Fiend's Grip being deployed as well. Kaori is already dead. Hayes is going to lose his first life. Arrow was able to get some sort of return play there, taking out the Bane, but... Well, your Cybercats, that's still quite nice. You strike fast, you strike hard, you get a 2-for-1, and now there's no longer that sort of Aegis threat on your Sand King.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and AM starting to accelerate. Just 5k gold away from being able to fight.
Hayes. Be careful here. He does have a regen rune bottled up, so... Because he can make the separation, he should be able to heal all of that off, but... A little bit of a scary play. He's going to be just fine, though, and while all that was going down, the other two cores pushed out that tier 2 top, and... Well, at this point, Wingblade, we're coming up on 20 minutes, and this is a realistic high ground push from them. They can get some nice damage onto the tier 3 with TA2000 having that Desolator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is the timing for Rune Eaters. There is no BKB yet on the Ember. AM isn't ready to fight. Like, if they can't push now, they'll never be able to push.
Tier 3 lost very nearly 2k health, so they don't get all the way through, but that's an impressive amount of damage without really having to take any casualties. And Well, earlier on, I was talking about TA2000, what he would build after this Dessa, whether it would be the BKB or the Blink. He's technically got both queued up, so don't quite have the answer just yet. I don't think you can really go wrong with either one at this point, Wingblade, but it will still be interesting to see which one he prioritizes first, the durability or the maneuverability.
Mm-hmm. I still think it's quite a shame that Lycan didn't go for Helm of the Overlord, because having such a big creep really helps with these early high ground pushes, because Cybercats doesn't have any physical damage to kill the creep. Ooh,
Oh,
nice
Hayes,
double burrow.
two-man burrow, cancels that TP. They're going to just go right in onto DK Focus and H2O, and yeah, those are two pretty easy kills there. That is a very timely ward onto the high ground to see it. They're able to make their move. Hayes now TP's bot, try and put a stop to this push. Siege creep did a little bit of work, but obviously not enough to threaten. But Hayes, make sure you don't go too far. Shigetsu and Fezor are here, and they would love to just make the jump. There's going to be the dust. Hayes, though, able to get rid of it with the illusion rune, and now Shigetsu is the one. Might want to be a little bit careful. Yeah, he's going to blink away. Don't think they have a cutoff angle here for TA2000, but that illusion rune isn't there. That is looking like a much more likely kill, but Hayes was able to outmaneuver. DK Focus. Drop to the arena, but he's silenced before he can throw the spear out. Here comes Hayes trying to TP onto the creeps. He's looking for his moment. Jumps in now on to the Mars, and this is going to start to turn. DK Focus taking down the Ember. He jumped in, and then he kind of jumped right back out very quickly. I looked at that correctly, so did not actually have the backup that he thought he did there on the Mars, and he gets taken out. And now at this point, Green Eaters are going to look for another push. Tier 2 mid's looking kind of vulnerable.
And they managed to save the creep, even healed it up with life drain. So they get the tier 2.
Getsu.
And all of the outer towers are starting to fall. And at this point, AM should really start accelerating really fast. But he's losing more and more map control, so even if you are supposed to be able to farm faster, it's gonna get harder and harder for him to find a place on the map to farm.
Space he loses, the harder it's going to be to sort of build himself up. You don't really, excuse me, I suppose you don't really have much more of a choice, right? The AM still needs the time, so they have got to try, and I guess just draw this one out as best as they can, but Rune Eaters, you don't really need to feel inclined to give them that time. They're grouping up again, they can push back in top. That tier 3 tower is still not in a great position, and Cybercats, they can't afford to just sort of let it go for free, I suppose, as Igor is going to push his way forward, and does buy the time, but now they need to be careful that they don't get sort of jumped in on with a counterplay.
Yeah, you could really see the restraint from Kaori there. Wanting to walk in for a Nether Blast, but he knows that he would just instantly die.
Damn. It's a Blink Dagger pickup from Arrow being delivered out to him. In the meantime, TA, they're going to try and make the jump onto him, and they just blow him up pretty quickly, but that's the first life. He still had the ult. Meanwhile, Hayes comes in with the Epicenter. It's not enough to kill anyone, but it does scatter the Cybercats lineup. But they are still trying to hold their line. They took down Hayes, but I think that might be the only kill that they get. Arrow's a little bit low, but Igor, he has to try and pick a target. He's not going to be able to do so. He just splits his attention between the two supports. He gets neither one of them. Cloud's the one to pick up the double kill, and well, at this point, Rune Eaters might have their path back onto that high ground. Cybercats, how's their buybacks looking? They don't have one on the Ember Spirit. That is kind of going to be a problem for them.
It should at least be a tier 3, possibly more. Because you can just tell AM can't really fight yet. He can jump in, try to burst someone, but he is not suitable for sustained combat.
Might be able to get the
Tier 3 appears to be fine. I guess they're just gonna be waiting for Roche then. Regardless, still a good fight for Rune Eaters.
Still looking pretty good here. About a 4 or 5k lead, 25 minutes in, more than double their opponent's kill count, so Well, they're in solid position, but they do still need to sort of keep an eye on Shigetsu as this game goes on, because the AM may be losing out on farming space, but he's not going to get shut out entirely over the course of this game. But now, both sides have their full lineups back up. About 35 seconds left on that reincarnation. So TA2000 might just sort of play it cool and push out the lanes until then. And he has the gold for the Aghanim Shard here if he just wanted to buy it outright. I suppose he's considering how much money he can save up to maybe go for the BKB instead, but I don't know. Just removing the threat of not getting your ult off entirely is still kind of tempting. We'll see what he can get away with here in terms of saving money.
If he died last fight, that would have been a completely different story.
Cybercats.
Getsu does have his Skadi though.
Yes, he does. Okay. Slowly but surely, AM builds himself up. Wow, Rune Eater's, again, gonna take a shot at that tier 3 tower. Kiori, there you go.
Finally.
He was a little hesitant the first time around, and, you know, it was understandable, but you gotta get it there. So the tier 3 tower will fall. They're not gonna be able to do much more in terms of pushing onto the racks, but they've at least opened up the path. If they win another fight, they've got a ready-made push. Double damage rune in the river. They're just going to leave.
Quick Roche.
Is. And this DD rune is still going to be sitting here, so Rune Eaters, the second they see this, they're going to call TA2000 over. Like, forget about the Ancients, man. Roche is back up.
Yeah, he did. This is gonna melt.
Thing is, if you're Cybercats, it was a fast respawn, and with the DD rune, it's going to go faster than usual, so I'm not sure they even really suspect that this is happening, and even if they did, it's already too late.
Yeah, there is the free shout for Wraith King. No need to buy it.
It's away with the little bit of greed there. He's got both the BKB and the shard, and DD rune's still up for a few seconds, so I don't know, clear through one more camp with that speed. But now, if you're Rune Eaters, you are really looking at a big advantage here, especially for Hayes. We saw in that last fight, he was able to jump in, do whatever he wanted, and he did die, but he had already sort of dished out his damage. Now, if he comes back up because of the Aegis, I just don't really know how Cybercats outlast that.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough.
BKB on DK Focus, though, so it's going to be far harder for them to just immediately lock down, but still going to be rough for them as TA2000 pushes forward, took the ranged first. Melee really is not going to last much longer here. Cybercats don't have a glyph and don't have the numbers to mount a defense, but they're going to go for 2. Okay. This is a little bit risky, but there's DK Focus jumping in. There's going to be the silence onto him. Good Force Staff pulling him back.
AM is cutting creeps. Just gonna delay this for a little bit, but damage is already done. And the creep wave top is gonna arrive in like 25 seconds, and that's all Rune Eaters needs. Like, they don't need creeps to deal damage, they just need creeps to break the backdoor protection.
Yeah, once they're through the back door, they've got all the damage that they need from this lineup, so if you're Shigetsu and you're not willing to sort of TP back to take a full-on fight, that's really the next best thing he can do, but it still leaves the rest of his team in such a sort of frozen defensive position here, and Rune Eaters aren't going to give up on this. They continue to push forward, they just keep sending the wolves in, and Wraith King is on the front line. He's the only hero that they could potentially target, but now Hayes makes his move. Another good Force Staff play, though. It's DK Focus back, and Hayes is going to get caught up for a while. The Fiend's Grip's actually deployed onto him. You're going to try to heal him up with the Life Drain. Will it be enough? Kiori actually keeping Hayes up and running. He does eventually lose that first life, though. But what can they get in exchange? They've taken down DK Focus. Meanwhile, Igor on the back line. Shigetsu comes in as well, drops the Mana Void. Not enough for a kill, but it will do some damage, but it's not going to be enough. Shigetsu now has to try and get away, but he's silenced.
No buyback!
Silenced and stunned. He's dead. Yeah, with no buyback. He did not have the money. He bought the Skull Basher.
I was looking at his inventory earlier, and he had a mithril hammer. I was like, Courier was flying to him. I was like, he has a BKB, he's gonna be fine. But he has a basher. So now this is a full minute where Rune Eaters can just push out the bottom lane and take the final set of racks.
Not quite game losing just yet, but boy, that's
Close to it.
Yeah, that's about as close as you get without just straight up losing the game there. But yeah, I don't know. Shigetsu maybe just overestimating his damage output or thinking that he was going to get RNG on his side. Because yeah, that Skull Basher instead of the BKB meant that he just gets blown up. And if it is a BKB instead, then you're fine. The silence and stun can't hit you. You can either find the kills or just blink away. Instead, he just gets kind of caught too far forward there, and boy, we already talked about this being hard for Cybercats, right? But now, not quite impossible, but they're going to have to do some insane stuff in this next team fight to pull back into it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they can't afford a single mistake. This AM still doesn't have buyback.
Really sure he's going to get the chance to farm
Ward
it up.
and the Wraith Pact and all of the creeps. It's just so hard to contest this push.
They see Igor. Oh, no, they don't. He's actually smoked. I thought that was Invis. Instead, he's going to try and jump the backline. Let's see what he can do. Looking for somebody. He gets the root down onto Kaori, but on the front line, DK Focus is just getting blown up. The Fiend's Grip was deployed onto the Wraith King, but they don't actually kill him off. They don't even get through his first life. The Kisses, though, will eventually do the job. They need so much more than this. They're going to try and push forward with Shigetsu. Manta's off the first stun, but he gets hit by the second. He's still in some trouble. Can he blink away? He's not going to blink away. He's going to drop the Void. And he takes down both of the supports, but TA2K blinks onto him, finishes the kill. He's dead with no buyback. And Cybercats, it wasn't a bad play to get those two supports, but those aren't the heroes that they needed. They had to be able to kill off those cores. They could not do so. And now I think it's all going to start to sort of come down on their heads. They've lost that final lane of racks, and well, Arrow actually just bought back and rejoined the fight. So realistically speaking, Cybercats don't get much from that engagement, and there's going to be the GG. Good luck, they say, and Rune Eaters will be taking the series, and they will move on to the lower bracket final.
Yeah, and this is what we spoke about with the anti-mage pick. Just that the tempo of the game really didn't suit him here. Individually, the hero matchups were just fine, but I mean, you're basically already giving yourself a disadvantage. Like, you know, I'm gonna get a farmed anti-mage at that point, but just looking at these Rune Eaters heroes, that anti-mage with farm is gonna arrive at a point where you're already really far behind. You're gonna lose map control, and you're gonna lose buildings, and then trying to get back into it is just so risky.
Well, they thought it was going to be enough to sort of pull them through, but taking a look at the stat lines here at the end of that game, realistically speaking, no one other than Igor really kind of accomplished what I think that they were meant to when they drafted those heroes in particular.
Mm-hmm. And again, the start was just fine. Ember Spirit did really well in lane, and bottom was okay. Anti-mage got fine, but it's just the nature of the hero.
Well, on the Rune Eater side, we talked about this at the end of Game 1, right? The fact that they have a relatively sort of balanced attack from their core heroes. You look at the distribution, the kills, the gold. Okay, maybe the gold's a little more spread out than last time, but in general, they're still pretty good. Their damage numbers are all relatively close, other than Hayes, who is a little ways ahead of them, but that's just the point. There's no sort of weakness in the Rune Eaters lineup to expose. Everyone was playing really at a high enough level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really strong performance for them.
So Rune Eaters now the winners of 6 games in a row as they take the 2-0 sweep here at Cybercats' expense. That does mean Cybercats are eliminated from this playoff bracket, so their shot at reaching that first division is now gone. However, they stay in the second division, and after this performance, I think maybe they have a little bit of confidence that they can build on heading into that next DPC tour. But their run in this event has now come to an end. The question now, though, is who will claim that final Division 1 spot. It's going to come down to Rune Eaters and Hydra, which will be our next upcoming series. I do believe we are going to have a bit of a break, though. We're not going to throw Rune Eaters immediately into another best of 3. We'll give them some time, but they will be next up on the schedule. That in mind, the series comes to an end, and Wingblade, I suppose, sort of closing thoughts for these two teams after this series.
Well, first of all, good luck to Rune Eaters in the finals. They look really good. I really like watching them play because, as I said, the farm distribution, it's quite close, and like they don't really have a super standout player. It's just solid Dota, and it's evenly spread, and you have interesting picks. And for Cybercats, they definitely had some signs of life, and I think that with a bit more practice and just getting their draft sorted, they definitely have a shot at getting into Division 1 next season.
Yeah, we'll see sort of, I guess, what this squad looks like moving forward and just how well they perform next tour leading into following season. For now, though, we are going to be stepping away here. As I said, I think we have a bit of an extended break before we throw Rune Eaters back into the action, so maybe a little bit longer before we get that next one under. For now, though, we heading on out. So stick around. We'll have Rune Eaters versus Hydra coming up next.